for a while. Y'all, I went to DR last month, okay? Punta Cana to be exact. My husband and I, we are frequent travelers, okay? We have been to over 13 different Caribbean islands as well as Mexico. We love to travel, especially staying at all-inclusive resorts. My experience in DR, which it was my first time there, it was my husband's second time there. And this is no shade or no hate to Dominicans, but I was not impressed. Okay. And here's why. Mind you, this is just my personal experience. I am not saying anything about the, Dominican Republic as a whole. I'm not saying anything about the people as a whole. I'm talking about my experience at this particular resort, which I will tell y'all exactly which resort it was so that you can avoid their ass in just a minute. Basically, they made us feel very unwelcome. And like when you go to these resorts, they usually go above and beyond, to make sure that you have an amazing vacation because the goal is for you to return. So we kind of had the opposite experience at this resort. And the only reason why, we still had a great time on our vacation is because we got to spend quality time together. Now, this resort was the opposite. They did not give any fucks at all about your experience. And it showed. They really just seemed like you were bothering them if you asked for something. They were not hospitable. They were not friendly. It was difficult to approach them with your needs or your concerns, and that's just the beginning. When I go to a resort in these other countries, I expect to have a bellhop carry my bags as soon as I arrive. I expect to have a welcome drink in hand. Mind you, this is a 5-star resort, so why would you expect anything less? And this is what I've become accustomed to. On top of that, we upgraded our room to a club level suite so that we could have a butler, okay, that is supposed to be assigned to each guest, each room, whatever you want to call it. And they're supposed to be like your personal concierge. They're supposed to schedule reservations for you at their restaurants, any type of excursions, experiences that you would like to add on. They're supposed to be there to just take your vacation to the next level. Didn't happen. Not only was our butler non-existent for the first 2 to 3 days of our trip, but when he did finally come around, he tried to scam us. And I think a lot of the workers at the resort were in on the scam. Like and stay tuned for part 2. Here's part 2 of how I almost got scammed at a Dominican resort. If you didn't see part 1, make sure you go back and watch that so you can catch up. I'm going to try to keep it brief, but you do need context, okay? So this is the name of the resort. Everybody's been asking me, what's the resort? This is the resort, okay? It's like a mega resort. It's like 3 resorts in one, okay? We were staying at the Colonial Club section, but I don't really recommend any of them, but to each their own. So when we finally got a hold of this shady ass butler, we told him that we wanted to have a romantic dinner on the beach on the night of our anniversary. He's like, okay, no problem. We can schedule that for you. It's going to be $150. I'm like, okay, not a problem at all. Then he proceeds to say, oh, but after your dinner, if you want your room decorated, it's going to cost you $300. Excuse me, what? Right off the bat, my husband is like, nah, like $300 for some decorations, but the romantic dinner on the beach only costs half that price. So we're like, what are you getting for this price? Because this is ridiculous. And he's like, oh, well, rose petals, champagne, and some balloons. He was like, but the roses alone cost $100. And then I have to leave the resort to go and get all of these decorations for you, come back and decorate your room. And then I'm going to need a tip on top of that. All the resorts that we've ever been to, we've never heard of such a thing. So immediately we're like, look, we about to go fact check him. Let's go down to the front desk or the concierge and see if he's telling the truth. So we go down to the concierge and we talking to this lady who works in there. And originally when we asked her about the decorations for the room, if there's this ridiculous charge, first she said no. She said it's complimentary. But then guess who just so happened to walk in while we was talking to the lady? Freaking butler number 1. He comes up to us and he's like, oh, do you guys need anything or whatever? We're like, no, we're good. And the lady proceeds to tell him, oh, well, they want their room decorated. So they were just asking me about that. He was like, oh, yeah, I already told them that it's a charge, right? Like kind of like nudge her basically to agree with him. All of a sudden, chick done changed her story. Now she's agreeing with him that, oh, yeah, he's right. There is a fee. Yeah, it costs that price. So I'm like, all right, this some bullshit. Somebody gonna tell me the truth. So then we're like, okay, we're gonna go talk to somebody else because we know that they're trying to scam us. If you don't know, resorts do these things complimentary, okay? Because they want to just add to your experience. They ask you before you come if you're celebrating something special, an anniversary, a birthday, a honeymoon, because they want to add little personalized touches throughout your stay to make it more memorable. So after homegirl done took his side and started lying to us as well, we were like, okay, we need to talk to somebody higher up. We were walking back to our room and we just so happened to walk into the director of the resort. I gotta make a part 3. Like and follow because y'all, it gets worse. But I promise I'm gonna post part 3 today. This is part 3, the final chapter of the Dominican scam story. If you didn't watch part 1 and 2, go back and watch that so you know what we talking about. So we immediately start talking to the director. We asking him about this whole price thing for decorations. Before we could even finish telling the entire story, the director immediately pulled out his phone and started writing an email to corporate. He was like, don't worry, your room is going to be taken care of. Your room's going to be decorated. There is no charge. Like, don't worry. Later on that day, we're walking out to go to the beach and the motherfucking butler approaches us. He had the audacity to come up to us and be like, what did you tell the director about me? You complained about me. What did you say? So he was mad at us for him doing some shady shit. It gets worse. So they set up our dinner on the beach. That was perfect. I must say the director acted immediately. That was very professional of him. But when we got back to our room was decorated and it was really cute, but it was nowhere near worth $300. The motherfucker was really just trying to steal $300 from us and then had the nerve to say he needed a tip on top of that. How dare you? Anyways, the next day we were leaving. So we were packing our bags and my husband noticed that his passport card was nowhere to be found. We keep all of our valuables in the safe. So because we were in a rush, he forgot to put his passport card back in the safe, as well as his money clip. Mind you, he was told by corporate that he had to decorate our room free of charge, like he's supposed to. But then they replaced his ass with another butler after he did the decoration. But he was the last person in our room before my husband's passport card went missing. So I definitely believe that he took that shit. He could have sold it. That thing could be on the dark web for all we know. So please just be careful when you're going to other countries, especially DR. But I want people to be aware. Like, be careful when you're going to these resorts. Always double check everything. If somebody tells you that something is one price, ask to see a price list of some kind. You know, show me on a computer. Show me a computer screen where it says that. Print me up a receipt, because you don't pay for stuff usually up front. They usually bill things to your room because a lot of resorts are cashless. So trust your gut, because if something doesn't feel right, then it usually isn't. And if something sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. You obviously can have a completely different experience than me, but just in general, if you're traveling out of the country or you're going to DR or whatever, just be careful and be smart. And I hope that this helps somebody.
Get ready with me as I talk about the time I was being kidnapped in Dominican Republic. This has ruined DR for me as well, because I really wanted to go, but your girl's traumatized. Okay, so this happened back in like 2016. I was there with my family, and I was maybe, I can't do the math, like 16 years old at the time. And we were staying in a 5-star resort down in Punta Cana. It was like beautiful, like really, really beautiful. This is my favorite ever, by the way. But so we were staying there. It was a nice resort, but something was just off. Like, the vibes were just weird when we got there. And this happened on our about 3rd day in the hotel. Me and my sister were in our room, like, you know, the time before you go to dinner, you're just kind of chilling about, like, not really doing anything. And our parents' room was like a little bit away. Like, the resort was kind of big. It was huge, actually, and their room was a little bit away from ours. So we heard this knock on our door, and it was like, cleaning. And me and my sister were like, our room's already been cleaned. The cleaning doesn't come at like 6 or 7 in the evening. We were like, that's ours. So we just shut it back. We're like, no, we're good, thanks, our room's already been cleaned. But they like kept knocking. They were like, cleaning. And we were like, the fuck, like, we literally already said no. So me and my sister, she's 1 year older than me, we go up to the door, and like, you know, those little like people kind of things you can kind of look at. So we can see that there's people, but they're standing to the side, so we can't get like a clear kind of view of what's going on outside. And we're just like, this is fucking weird, like something's going on, like, I don't know. So we were like, okay, our door's locked, like, whatever, just put the little chain thing on it, because this is kind of freaking us out in what we call reception. So my sister goes to call reception from, like, you know, like the hotel phone. the lines had been like cut, like physically cut, like the wire was, it was like one of those old like hotel phones, the wire was like physically cut. That's when we started to freak out. We were like, holy fuck, like that's, so we started to panic. These people are still banging on the door, and we're like, what the actual fuck is going on? So we like call our parents, we're like, mom, dad, like come to the room fast. But they're obviously on like a different side of like the hotel, so they're like running over to the room, they're like panicking, we're like freaking out. These people are like banging on the door. They were able to open our door from the outside, but obviously we had like the little latch thingy on. They were able to, the locks were disabled, or I don't know if the locks were disabled or if they had like a all access kind of card that they could get into the room, like you know how sometimes the cleaning can just get in. So the door is like open a little bit, and we're like screaming, we're like, oh my fucking god, oh my god. Anyways, we're like, oh, like there's people on the way, blah blah. My parents obviously were like to the hotel, they told them what's going on. Anyways, the people left before my parents got there, and we were just like shook about the whole thing. My mom and dad were like, what the fuck, we're going into reception right now and complaining about this, because like seriously, how did they get into the room and why were the phone lines cut? So we go down to reception, very fucking, my mom was fuming, she was so fucking mad. So we go down to reception and we're like, what the literal fuck, like clearly this was like an inside job, like what is going on, why were these people able to get like access, like you need to check the cameras, like what's going on. And when we were down there, there was a British couple there, and we got talking to them, and they were down there complaining, and they were like, our passports have been stolen from our room. And we were like, what the fuck? We checked, our passports had been stolen from our room. Mine and my sisters that were in the safe were gone. And we obviously were like to the hotel, we were like, clearly this is an inside job, like our passports were taken before they even tried to come to the room. The like hotel receptionist guy is like, I'm sorry, I don't know what I can do, like we're gonna get someone up to fix the room, I mean to fix the like locks. Like there was a guy that came and like did something with the car key thingies, but he was like, I don't really know what's going on, just keep the latch on the room for tonight. And we were like, no, we're literally not staying in that room, like you need to move us like now. And they were like, oh, the resort's like full, like you need to stay in that room. And we were like, what the literal fuck, like you're gonna keep us in that same room? So we did not get much sleep that night. Obviously we want to get out of Dominican Republic as fast as possible, but our fucking passports are gone, and we were supposed to go back to the US. We're not American, so trying to get in there without a fucking passport would be very difficult. So we were like panicking. We were like, what the fuck do we do? Like my mom like had to head off the people in the reception. She was like, something is clearly going on in this fucking hotel. Our passports were put back in our room later that day, back in the safe, like they had never been moved. They were just put back after we complained. We also met the English family, the one that was complaining about their passports being stolen, and they also had gotten their passports back. So we literally booked the next fucking flight out of there. Like we did not stay any longer. There was something fucking weird going on in that hotel at that time. I don't know what was happening, but a couple of months after we left, there was like so many articles of American tourists like suspiciously dying in Punta Cana. I don't know if it was the exact hotel, but these tourists had died of like really fucking weird things. They were being like poisoned and shit, and then they said it was from like the cheap alcohol at the resorts. But some people were complaining about like gas like coming into the room. And the craziest thing about the whole story is our passports being put back in our room after we complained. Like at least follow through with it, like you already fucking have them. Why are you putting them back now? To make it sound like we're fucking crazy or something? But yeah, that was like 1 or 2 times that I've nearly been kidnapped. So I don't know if I'm like an easy target or something. Well, also not that easy, because neither has succeeded. I'm still here, bitch. But yeah, that's a failed kidnapped attempt on me twice. So you hoes are never gonna catch me. You ain't gonna catch me. Yeah. Lucky girl syndrome. Well, I don't know if it's super lucky, because like there was an attempted kidnapping twice. One of the time was in London. But yeah, I just thought of this story because one of my friends is in DR right now, and I was like, oh, I'd love to go there if I wasn't traumatized. But yeah, I low-key want to go back because everyone goes, has so much fun. I feel like it was like 8 years ago, and I just obviously won't say that hotel, but I don't know, am I stupid for wanting to go back? Is that asking to be kidnapped? Well, I mean, I'm old, I'm probably not worth much now, so I don't know.
You're fucking lying. That motherfucker really said, are you gonna be okay? And got in the motherfucking truck and left me here? And left me here? In the middle of the fucking... Hold on. The joke is up. The joke is fucking up. I ain't think he was gonna leave. Y'all, I ain't think he was gonna leave. I know. Oh, never again. Never the fuck again. This man left me in the middle of the motherfucking jungle. This shit never again.
Faire un storytime de notre voyage en République Dominicaine en utilisant notre scrapbook. Nous sommes allés en République Dominicaine en avril 2022. Ça, c'est l'endroit où nous sommes restés. J'ai aussi rajouté une petite avion qui fait de Québec en République Dominicaine. Ça, c'est notre photo de famille et nous avec Ellie. Toutes les informations que notre agente de voyage nous a données, puis je les ai rajoutées dans le cahier. nos billets d'avion et en dessous, il y a nous. Ellie avait 1 an et demi à peu près, puis Adrien il avait à peu près 5 mois. Il était très jeune, mais honnêtement, c'est notre voyage le plus facile qu'on a fait avec les enfants. On est parti 2 semaines dans un tout inclus qui s'appelait le Vistasol. Ça ressemble à ça. Ici, c'était notre chambre, donc très proche de la plage et très proche des piscines et de l'endroit où on fait manger. Les activités et restaurants qu'il y avait. J'ai fait des amis parce que dans tout mon voyage, on se fait des amis, moi puis Victor. Puis c'était 2 restaurants qu'on pouvait réserver par semaine, mais vu qu'on était devenus amis avec eux, on a pu aller à 4 restaurants par semaine. On a été mis sur le restaurant. Au lieu de réserver pour 4, on réservait pour 8. C'est comme un petit truc qu'on avait trouvé pour aller à plus de restaurants. Il y avait un restaurant italien, un restaurant asiatique et teriyaki, ça c'est sur une plaque, un American Grill, et un restaurant mexicain. Mon préféré, c'était le restaurant mexicain parce que dans le milieu, il y avait comme un bar avec de la guacamole puis un nachos. Les tout inclus, c'est tellement facile avec des enfants. Pas besoin de faire le ménage, pas besoin de cuisiner, pas besoin de faire de lavage, pas besoin de rien faire. On faisait littéralement juste manger, aller à la plage, à la piscine, relaxer, faire les petites activités puis faire des siestes. Pas l'idéal quand tu veux vivre la grosse aventure, mais je trouve qu'avec des enfants de jeune âge, c'est parfait. C'est plus des vacances que quand tu es à la maison. Une des choses qu'on a beaucoup fait là-bas, c'était aller à la plage. L'eau était tellement bleue, le ciel était toujours bleu aussi. Moi, avec les 2 enfants, on allait beaucoup à la plage, mais on allait encore plus à la piscine parce qu'avec les enfants, j'ai l'impression que la sensation du sable collé sur leurs jambes après être mouillé ou le soleil qui tapait direct, c'était pas nécessairement ce qu'eux aimaient vraiment. En plus, avec les vagues, on pouvait comme pas full les laisser partir. Puis Ellie, elle avait quand même peur des vagues. On passait nos journées à la piscine. Ici, j'ai rajouté plein de mots en lien avec la piscine. Et ça, c'est Adrien dans son petit outfit d'avocat quand on est allé manger au restaurant mexicain. On est resté 2 semaines pour être sûr d'optimiser avec les enfants puisqu'il y avait des siestes puis qu'on ne pouvait pas toujours veiller ou en profiter à 100%. Une des choses qu'on faisait, c'était des siestes et bien sûr relaxer, coller. Moi puis Victor, on a aussi fait un tour privé de Santo Domingo. C'est comme la ville principale en République dominicaine. Moi, j'ai pris une journée complète pour moi, puis lui a pris une journée complète pour lui. Donc, je suis restée au resort avec les enfants, puis après ça, lui est resté au resort avec les enfants. Finalement, on l'aurait fait ensemble, mais on sentait que nos enfants étaient trop jeunes. On est allé dans un musée, dans une cathédrale. On est aussi, une des raisons pourquoi on n'a justement pas été avec les enfants, on est allé dans une grotte qui était vraiment à pic. Les marches étaient quand même très dangereuses, donc avec des enfants, ça n'aurait pas été très possible. Mais on se sentait très bien avec l'idée qu'on prenne chacun une journée pour nous dans ces 2 semaines-là. Un temps à notre resort, et nous sommes aussi allés nager avec des dauphins. Parenthèse à propos de ça, on l'a fait une fois dans notre vie, on ne le refera plus jamais. Les piscines sont très très petites pour des dauphins qui sont des êtres extrêmement intelligents. Et honnêtement, je me suis sentie quand même relativement coupable. Après, c'était pas le fun. Ça coûtait beaucoup trop cher pour ce que c'était. Puis les dauphins sont clairement pas heureux. Donc, grosse erreur de notre part. Mais au moins là-bas, ce qui était le fun, c'est qu'il y avait des jeux d'eau. Donc, même si l'affaire de dauphin a duré presque 20 minutes, on n'avait même pas le droit de prendre de photos. Après ça, on a pu profiter avec les enfants des jeux d'eau. C'est ça pour notre voyage en République dominicaine. Donc, il y a plein d'autres places qu'on veut visiter avec les enfants. Mais c'était vraiment le fun.
Mom and son died from food poisoning during dream vacation at Dominican resort. We were all throwing up. A family's dream vacation turned tragic when a mother and her 8-year-old son died of food poisoning at a Dominican resort, according to a new $10 million lawsuit. The Gauguin family had traveled from Toronto to the Viva Dominicus Beach by Wyndham Resort just after Christmas in December 2023 and enjoyed the buffet dinner on their first night. But they were all severely ill by 6 the following morning, with Mom April
Vacation Safety 101. Protect your family abroad. Don't let your dream vacation turn into a nightmare before jetting off. Research resort reviews, especially on health and safety. Always have travel insurance and know local emergency info. Be smart at buffets. Choose well-cooked meals and bottled water. Carry a health kit for emergencies. Stay safe and enjoy your trip.
Get ready with me while I tell you about the time that I went to DR and I got my phone stolen on day one of my trip. Okay, so quick little backstory. This trip was actually a little birthday getaway for my friend and I, because her birthday's in November, mine's in December. So we ended up just going in December to celebrate both of our birthdays. So we ended up staying at an all-inclusive resort. That place was so beautiful. It came with everything included, the drinks, the food, like it was so freaking lit. I had such an amazing time. So the activities at the resort, there were like some that were included with the hotel, like the package, but then there was some that wasn't. And there was this one booth that was there, and it was for Coco Bongo. Like the tickets came included with drinks, and it also came included with like they were gonna pick you up and they were gonna drop you off back at the hotel. And it was gonna be like our first night out in DR. So we were like, "Bet, let's," you know, like we were just so excited. You know, we got ready, we ended up going. Like that place is freaking crazy. So we basically stayed in the floor, right? And so since drinks were included, like we took advantage. So my dumbass, right? I ended up taking like this beach bag because I didn't really think we were gonna like go out clubbing. So I didn't really take like a purse, you know? This is the freaking bag I'm telling you about. You see how it doesn't have a zipper? This is what I was working with. Okay, I know it's dumb. Like I know, like it's dumb. Why? Like why would you put this on? But girl, this was the only bag I had. It was either this or like literally a beach bag. So this was more, you know, we were dancing, we were having fun, we got lit, I got fucked up. My friend was taking care of me and she was taking care of my bag. So towards the end of the night, you know, we headed out and I was like sobering up outside, you know, because we were waiting for a bus to come pick us up. And so I asked my friend like for my bag, and then I couldn't find my phone. My phone was missing, and literally like I full on panicked and I ran straight back into Coco Bongo because we were literally like right outside of it. Went inside, asked people, like tried to look around, went to like this like lost and found area they had. Wasn't there. I was just so stressed. I was literally about to cry because I was like, there's no fucking way that I just lost my phone on day one of my trip. Like what the fuck? And then I started thinking like, oh my god, like my passwords, my pictures, like everything is gone. And so I ran back outside. My friends were kind of by, they were like outside. I guess like these Uber guys like approached them and were, you know, asking if like they needed a ride back. And so I see them and I ask, you know, my friend Millie, I'm like, can you be like where my phone is? My friend Millie was like literally the only one that had service, and she had my location. So she looked and my phone was like 20 something minutes away. It was at a hotel. As soon as I saw that, I was like, I have to go. Like I have to go get my phone. There's no way, like I have to. And they were like, no, like you shouldn't, like that's dangerous. And this, I was like, I'm gonna go. Like if y'all don't want to come with me, I'm gonna go by myself. So I asked the Uber guy that was there, the Uber driver, like, can you please take me to this like place? Like someone stole my phone. And he was like, bet, like vamos, I'll take you. I was like, okay. So I was gonna go, and then my friend Melly was like, no, like I can't, like I'm gonna go with you, like I can't. And his car was little, so we couldn't like all come because it was like 5 of us, so not all of us could fit. So it was just me, my friend Melly, and then our guy friend, because we needed a guy. We needed a guy to come with us. So we go in, you know, he's driving. I'm literally crying because I'm still like sobering up. And I'm just like crying. I have my glasses on. I'm crying. Oh my god. and the Uber driver is like trying to comfort me, and he's like, it's okay, like don't, like we're gonna find it, don't worry. And I'm like, how? Like, how are we gonna find it? It's at a hotel, like how are we gonna know what room it's at? And he was like, no, like don't worry, like obviously he was talking to me in Spanish, right? But he was like, you know, like nothing gets lost here, like we're gonna find it, don't worry, and this and that. So he was trying to cheer me up. He was so nice. We're probably like maybe like 4 minutes away from the place. Basically, whoever had my phone started messaging from my phone to my friend and was kind of like, oh, you know, we found this phone, we're trying to locate the owner, this and that. And it was kind of weird how they got into my phone. Like, I still don't fully understand that because I have a password, and even if you try to like unlock it, it'll ask you for your password. So I don't know how the heck they did that. And they called us and they were like, oh, like we found this phone and this and that. And I was like, oh, well, I'm like 2 minutes away from where you guys are at. I honestly, that whole conversation, I don't remember. Like, that's kind of like the most that I remember, but I don't really remember like the full conversation. But so we pull up, right? And then they come out, and it's 3 guys that come out, and they, you know, came like up to our window, and our Uber driver was like talking to them, was like, our phone got lost, do you guys have it, like can you guys give it back? And they were like, yeah. And then once I got my phone back, like once they put it in my hand, like it's like my freaking brain, like I don't know, like I didn't even ask them any freaking questions like I should have. So I ended up getting it back, gave it back without like any issue or anything. And I was so lucky that they didn't turn it off, because if they would have turned it off, like that would have been it. It would have been wraps. Like I wouldn't have been able to find it. And luckily, like they called, like everything just kind of worked out in my favor. It was such a stressful thing to experience, but on the bright side, I did get it back, which is lit, because the chances were looking a little iffy in the moment. Luckily, the Uber driver was also really nice, and he wasn't a creep, you know, he wasn't being like giving creepy vibes. He was just so funny. Like he was making, you know, trying to make me feel better the whole time, because I was literally crying. It was funny because once like we got my phone back, he was like driving us back. He was like so pumped that I found my phone, and he was like, okay, like pull your phone out, amiga, like we gotta take a video to remember this moment. Looking at it now, I'm just like, girl, like you could have been kidnapped, you could have, you know, like it was a very risky thing. And sometimes my friends are like, I would not have done that. And I'm like, girl, it was day one, like I couldn't leave my phone there, and like I had the location, so it's like, you know, it was like I kind of had to, it was like a sign. The fact that I had the location to it and it was so active, like what do you mean? Like, of course we gotta go. But yeah, girl, DR was fucking crazy. And it was so crazy because that was like day one, and literally we stayed for a week, and every day some shit would happen.
Whenever I need to humble myself, I always think about the time when I was in Punta Cana and we were just about to go in the ocean. In my little bikini, I'm feeling cute or whatever. We get into the ocean and the waves immediately start beating my ass. I was doing backflips, barrel rolls, essentially fighting for my life in these waves. So when the waves finally stop being so crazy, I'm crawling out of the ocean, coughing up water, hairs all over my face, probably have a nip slip going on, just terrible. When some man brings me up to my feet. Yeah, this man brings me up to my feet. This man looks at me and he says, excuse my accent. Not gonna lie, babes, I thought you were gonna drown. And, you know, I couldn't even say anything for myself because I also thought I was gonna drown. So I literally was just like, yeah, same. I was scared. So yeah, super embarrassing. And then every time I saw him on the resort, he'd be like,
there she is. She's alive. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, hey, what's up? Waves are no joke. And I did end up being a victim of the Punta Cana waves. So.
Okay, I'm finally ready to tell my story. I'm going to try and be as detailed as possible. So if it results in multiple parts, it results in multiple parts. But I highly doubt it will. So some questions to start off. I was on a solo trip. Yes, I was by myself out of the country. It was my first time being on a solo trip, let alone on a solo trip out of the country. And I was newly 21. Like, I just turned 21 literally that week. So I was in the Dominican Republic. I did stay at an all-inclusive. So some other things were, I didn't book anything excursion-wise until I got to the resort. And literally the booking was this man, and it was a big book of excursions. Now, I asked a lot of questions because naturally I asked a lot of questions. So a lot of the questions that I've seen in the comments about, like, who was the transportation, like, how did you even end up on this excursion, I asked all of those questions prior to even booking. I looked through the entire book. It was about 10 to 15 pages long. And out of everything, he recommended the zip lines and jet skiing, and it was a couple other things. So I signed up for the zip line. Now, since this is all through the resort, I literally had nothing to worry about. I paid for it at the resort, and all I was told was they're going to come and get you. They're going to take you to and from the resort. Just be downstairs at this exact time. That's it. I didn't know anything about who the transportation company was. I didn't really even know the name of the company I was going to even do the zip line. Nothing like that. It was like an out of sight, out of mind thing. Like, my resort I paid for it, but my resort handled everything else. I'm just a guru. Like, literally. So I can say the first red flag was the appointment time. I was at the beach. I was chilling. I had all of my stuff ready. I packed what I was supposed to pack, my sunscreen, whatever. Don't wear sandals, yada, yada, yada. Cool. And I met them at the door. I want to say, like, the excursion time was like 12 o'clock. Yeah, the bus didn't show up until like 12:45. And I remember this because I remember just circling the hotel lobby for a while. I even went and got a drink. I went and talked to a couple workers, yada, 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 basically. So one thing I'm going to keep in mind that it didn't register to me until the end of the trip when I got back to the States was this one encounter. And it was an encounter I was frequently having while I was in DR. I would go up, or one of the workers would go up to me, and they would immediately start speaking Spanish. The mistake I made was I didn't say I'm not Hispanic, I'm not Dominican, I don't speak. All I left it at was I don't speak Spanish. Now, every time I would say I don't speak Spanish, now I never clarified that I'm not Dominican, I don't come of any Hispanic descent. I never clarified that, and I probably should have. But what I would say was, oh, I don't speak Spanish. And they would turn around, look at each other, and go, kiki to each other, and then look at me, give me a friendly smile, and then walk off like an inside joke kind of thing. And I'm starting to put the two and two together that the inside joke was they probably thought I was from DR, but just didn't know the language. Because I know in other cultures, like if you're Jamaican and stuff, and you come from a Jamaican household, but you was born in the States, but you don't know the dialect, you get made fun of. So I feel like it was one of those type of situations, like, oh, she Dominican and don't even know the culture type thing. Keep that in mind, because I feel like it's gonna come in handy later in the story. Come on, like. So the tour bus was about 45 minutes late, and another question I saw was I the only one from my resort getting on the bus? I don't remember if I was the only one, but what I do remember was I was the only one on my bus doing zip lines. What I didn't know until I got on the bus and we were headed to the excursion was that it was two kinds of excursions. It was a monkey exhibit, and then there were zip lines. So there was about 15 other people on the bus. But every last one of them 15 people were going to the monkey exhibit, and I was the only one doing the zip lines, which was not an issue. They didn't have a problem because the monkey exhibit and the zip lines were in the same vicinity. It was at the same place. We were all going. Okay? Okay. The next thing I'm going to address is I feel like a lot of people were tackling onto the idea that I probably had a nasty attitude the entire time and got left, and that was the case, and da-da-da-da. Literally, no. The zip lines itself was fun as hell. The staff, fun as hell. I can literally even insert some clips after I get done this story time of the zip lines and all of that itself. The men there, fine. Everything was asking me for like my WhatsApp and my contact information, and it literally was no issues. Like, it was no issues up until it was time to go. Like, I finished the excursion. I headed back to all the buses. So there were about 5 buses there. All you see in the video is the one bus driving away, but there were literally 5 buses. And I knew which bus I was already on. So I had immediately walked over to my bus, noticed that nobody who I rode with was there, immediately turned around to one of the staff members and said, "Hey, where is my group at?" That is when, comes to find out, my group was still up there finishing up the monkey exhibit. They hadn't finished yet. A lot of the other tour people who I was with were people that did the zip line. Therefore, that's why you see a whole group of people on buses and stuff, because I was majority with other people, even though my group was the one doing the monkey exhibit. So the best way to put this is, like, the 4 other buses, I want to say about 50 to 70% of them did the zip line course with me. So we all came back at the same time. I didn't end up back there all by myself. I came down there with a group of people. The only difference was the group of people left and I didn't. Like, that's what happened. So when I came down and asked them, like, you know, like, where's my group at? Like, this is the bus I'm supposed to be riding, whatever the case may be. That's when they proceed to tell me, like, they're still up at the excursion, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have to wait for them to get done. Once again, no problem. I did not have a problem with that. But once I started seeing people loading onto the buses, literally bus by bus, I was watching groups of 15 to 20 people get on the bus and drive off. The same questions y'all are asking, I asked these staff members. I said, why can't I just hop on y'all bus and y'all take me back to the resort? They told me, and I quote, "These buses only go to designated resorts, and your bus is going to your resort, but none of these buses are going to be going to your resort. It's not on that route. Therefore, you cannot get on these buses." I wasn't going to freaking, I don't know, push my way through and get on a bus if I was already told I can't be on the bus. I was told I can't be on it. I can't be on it. I'm not arguing with nobody outside of the country, especially nobody who they're guarding this excursion exhibit with rifles and AKs. I'm not arguing with nobody. Y'all told me I can't get on. I'm not getting on. You're right. I'm not. So they told me go sit my black on the bus, and they're going to make a couple phone calls and figure out, like, who can come down and get this whole situation figured out. Like I said, I don't understand stranger danger. They told me they were going to call somebody and get it figured out. That is what I went with. I went and sat myself on that bus and watched them make phone calls and stuff. And it looked like he was talking to somebody on the phone. I don't know. It looked like he was speaking to somebody. Now, whether or not, now I'm looking back, was he really on the phone with anybody? I don't know. When I'm outside of the country, I got 2 rules. Don't hurt yourself and don't get locked up. And baby, I was not willing to do those 2 things arguing with somebody. So he told me to go sit on that bus. I went and sat on that bus. Okay. The time's running out, so we're going to do a part 2. Okay. But it's not going to be long. It's going to be a part 2. So this is part 2 of how I got myself stranded in DR. So where I left off was that he told me to go sit on the bus, and he was making phone calls and figuring out who could basically come and either give me a ride, because like I said, I'm not entitled. I already finished the zip line. I was understanding of the fact, like, it's other people on the bus and I just need to wait for them to come back. That was not what was getting me upset. What was getting me upset was it seemed like they were very nonchalant to the whole idea of, we're going to just leave you here. Like what pissed me off was he was on the phone acting like he was going to get the situation fixed. Only for 5 to 10 minutes later, I watched him get on the bus, drive off, and never come back. Like, never come back. Not give me an update, not tell me what the man said on the phone. Like, literally said, oh, I'm gonna fix it. And then 5 minutes later, I'm watching him drive off in a bus. And it's the last bus of 15 fucking people who I've been with for the last 3-4 hours. So at that point, I knew, oh, nobody else is coming. Because that was the last bus that had drove off. Yeah, let's just say I was in distress. So that's where all the cursing was coming from. Because let me address another few things. I never cursed at the staff. I was never disrespectful to the staff. What you see me doing on video is me cursing in frustration to myself. I never once took my frustration out on any of the staff members. And even if I was mad and upset, I am a black girl by myself in another country, and they're toting AKs and rifles. Do you think I'm a freaking argue? Be for real. Be for real. Be for real. Be for real. So like I said, I wasn't disrespectful with anybody. Did I try and get to the bottom of what was going on? Yes. Like I said in the video, which is the whole point of the trend, I did not realize I was in danger until I saw that man get on that bus and ride off. I thought I was safe and in the clear and that help was coming to wait with me until my group was done. That just never happened, and he just kind of left. So he leaves with the last bus, because I can say this whole ordeal before I got stranded took about 40 minutes in of itself, just, you know, getting everybody loaded onto the bus and then having each bus leave out. Like, all of that took about 40 minutes happening, and nobody ever came during that whole 40-minute duration. So that's when you kind of see me touch on the fact he got onto the bus and said, like, oh, like, you're going to be okay, just don't go to sleep. Leaves the door wide open, because no, he did not close that car door. The door was wide open the entire time. So I saw other comments of people saying, like, oh, like, why would you be parading outside? You couldn't be that scared because like you were walking around outside. Whatever was out there was going to come and get me anyway because he left the door open. Another comment I saw was the key in the car. Yes, the key was in the car. They left the key in the car. I drive luxury vehicles. I want to know what to do with that vehicle, even if God came down himself, tapped me on the shoulder and said, baby, drive that car. That would have been an instant death. I don't know nothing about stick shift. No. That looked like something from 1980. I'm not touching that car. Baby, please. Baby, be for real. I was not touching that car. And can I please just keep adding the emphasis on they was toting AKs and rifles? What does my black self, my pigment self, look like driving in my 30-inch wig past them security guards toting them rifles right at arrival at the entrance? They're gunning me down, no questions asked. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Whatever is out there in them jungles, baby, can get me faster than a bullet. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. So, yes, he left that key in the ignition. Was I finna touch it? No. I don't play with them people. And another thing I feel like people need to keep in mind, which is, I don't know if other people keep this in mind, but I keep it in mind, and I keep it dear to my heart. I don't want anybody to ever lose their job over me. I feel like unless it really come down to it, and I actually got attacked, oh yeah, your job is going to lie. But me sitting in a bus by myself for an hour, was it negligent? Yes. Was it careless? Yes. But these are people's livelihoods. This is how this person's going to feed his family, pay his rent, do whatever he need to do. I'm not making somebody lose their job over me. Maybe the next person will do it. Maybe they've done it before to other people, but I'm not going to be the one to put the nail in the coffin. It's not that serious. I had a good time. You know, it just wasn't one of those situations. Thank God, nothing happened to me that entire 45 to an hour I was waiting for somebody to come. Was I left completely unattended? Was there dogs wandering around? Was I in the middle of nowhere? Was there nobody supervising me within any type of distance anywhere? I couldn't see a fucking soul. Excuse me. I couldn't see a soul. Yes. But once again, the tour guide and stuff. And the other issue I wanted to touch on, which is why I mentioned that story earlier about the co-workers who were laughing at me because I didn't speak Spanish. When they finally did come back with my group who did the monkey excursion for us to come back to the resort, he was nonchalant. He was not apologetic. He quite frankly did not care. And once again, if you know me, you know I really do curse people out for real. What you saw in that video was nothing. It was nothing to what I really get down and do. But I ever so nicely gave him the Karen curse out. Like, that is wrong. You left me on this bus unattended, and you just don't do things like that. That is what I see it when he got back on the bus. Not my typical curse out. And he was just like, oh, sorry. And went right back to talking to the other tourists. Like, it was no empathy at all. It was just like oh, sorry. And that's when it kind of clicked in my head. I feel like they were a lot more relaxed with me because they thought I was Dominican, or they thought I was native speaking and just didn't really know the language. Like, I was cultured but uncultured. Like, I was one of them Americanized Dominicans, and they don't like stuff like that. They don't like, because you think you better than me. You think you better than me is what I feel like. Is what I feel like happened. Is what I feel like it was one of those situations. Like, whole time she one of us and she thinks she better than me. Oh yeah, we going to show her who better than who. I feel like it was one of those situations. And he had a little review at the end, and he was asking people to do the review. I took the high road. I'm not going to give you a false review, but I'm also not going to dish you and give you a bad review. So I just didn't give a review. And that's pretty much the tea on what happened, because at the end of the day, I'm on vacation. I'm not here to make nobody's life miserable, and I'm definitely not here to drag it out. Like, like, it happened. It was inconvenient, but I was protected. I was safe, and I made it back to my resort in one piece, and nothing happened to me. Now, like I said, if a bear came out of the woodworks and attacked me, we'd be having a whole nother conversation. All right? But I was protected, and I was okay. So that is pretty much what happened. I really hope I really addressed every single concern, especially the disrespectful, because I really don't play about that, because I can be disrespectful and rude, but one of those times was not one of those times. Like, it just wasn't.
Story time on how the last time that I went to DR, I was stranded at 3 a.m. Not even at 3 a.m. What time we landed? We landed like at 1:30, and we were stranded till like 4 in the morning, y'all. So basically, we had rented an Airbnb or whatever, and the lady had asked me, like 1 or 2 days before.
I don't know why you saying we. Like, if I want, you said we.
Anyways, because Matthew always just has to interrupt me.
Because she's saying
because you know what time that I landed. Are you slow? Anyways, so I had ended up, before I even booked the Airbnb, I had told her that I was landing like at 1:30 in the morning, because I know that's not a time for people to really go outside in DR, like, hello. So I told her, I was like, is that time is okay or whatever, because like I am landing at this time, like I need the key at this time, whatever. She said okay. After I booked it, right, she ends up texting me like 2-3 days before the trip, and she's like, do you have anybody that can grab the keys out here, that can like give it to you when you land or whatever, because you're coming really late or whatever, and just in case. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, my brother lives out there. I trust my brother. Like, it's not just anybody. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I gave her a pass, which I should have never did it, but I still did it. So and I'm telling my brother to go pick it up from her. My brother ends up going to pick it up from her, the key, or whatever. All right, so now we're on the plane or whatever. It's me and my cousin. At least we were in a car, because the car rental, it doesn't matter what time you get to the airport. Like, it could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It doesn't matter. The car is going to be at the airport, basically. Like, the guy always has a person to be at the airport whatever time you land. So, luckily, we were in the car, we wasn't just walking around stranded, or we didn't take a cab or anything. So, we get there, whatever. My brother's not answering. my brother is not answering. No, he ends up answering when we get there. He's like, yeah, I'm about to go to the Airbnb. When I'm gonna tell him, like, he left without even reading my response, nothing. And he didn't have no internet. After, because I originally texted him, like, don't go to Airbnb because you don't have no internet. And how are we gonna contact you? Like, what about if we can't find the Airbnb? The lady had ended up texting me. She pin dropped, I guess, where the Airbnb was at. But the pin drop that she dropped it was like 8 minutes away from the Airbnb was originally at. So whatever. So we get in the car. I go to the address that she sent me.
Post this because
or whatever.
I need to charge.
Anyway, so we end up going to the location she sent me. We can find the Airbnb map. It's like I could just never do a video. I swear to God. Anyways, we end up going where she sent us. We don't freaking see the Airbnb. We don't see nothing. We don't see nothing. Like, literally, we don't. It's nothing. It's like just walls there and other apartments or whatever. So we're like, you know what? Let's search up like what she sent us, where it's at. Like, we're trying to look at. We had ended up booking on the app, on a verbal app that I have. And we searching up to see if maybe the verbal app have something else or whatever. We end up searching the street. We end up just going. We were 3 hours just driving around trying to freaking. It's not like we didn't have service because I paid for, cause we didn't have service, but I paid T-Mobile to give me like the speed internet when I got over there, and I paid for it. So I had internet, so it wasn't that we didn't have internet. It was just like, it was, the Airbnb was nowhere to be found. We cannot find it. Whatever. We end up, my cousin wants to, hear what he wants to do. He wants to go to the cops and tell the cops that we're lost. I'm like, are you going crazy or dumb? We're not stopping anybody and telling them anything. We're not telling nobody that we're lost. Like, we cannot risk nothing. Like, we are good. We're not telling nobody that we're lost. If we have to sleep in the car, we're gonna sleep in the car. We ended up finding our way because we don't even know where our grandma really lives. Like, we know the street and stuff, but we don't know how to get there, and we don't have like an exact address to get there. Like in DR, if you know, you know. Like, addresses are so confusing. It was on the other side of the world type shit. So we end up going to the front of my grandma's house to see if somebody's up like by my grandma's house or whatever. Because it was Thursday and they usually be up late, but we were like, it was like 2 in the morning already. By the time we went to my grandma's house, probably 2:30 in the morning. So we don't see nobody awake. We don't want to wake nobody up because, you know, in DR, if you knock on somebody's door at that time, bitch, they might kill you. So I was like, we're not knocking on the door, especially that my aunt lives my great grandmother's house. She's really old. She's like 97 years old. So we is not about to give nobody a heart attack and then she dies and it's all for. So I was like, we're not knocking on nobody. If nobody's awake, we're just gonna go. Which, if we have to sleep in the car, we're gonna sleep in the car. But we're not telling nobody that we are lost. Like, we're not doing that. So then we ended up going to some other Airbnb, and the security guard was actually outside. So we end up asking the security guard, like, oh, like, do you know what this address is or whatever? But we don't tell him that we're lost. We just, do you know what this address is? Because we're trying to find this Airbnb and we can't find it or whatever. And he's like, oh, like, don't tell anybody else that, you know, he was like really nice. Oh my God, thank fucking God, bro. But he was like, don't tell anybody that y'all looking like, y'all glad that y'all told me or whatever. He's like, look, this is right there, right there. And he ended up telling where it goes. Right there, my brother calls. He went outside the Airbnb and was looking for internet. I don't know where the hell he found internet. But he was outside of the Airbnb wondering where the hell he was at. I was like, bro, you waited 3 hours. I was going off on him. Like, how you knew the time we were landing? I literally texted you when we were landing. And you wasn't wondering where the fuck we was at for 3 hours? Like, I was going so off him. I was so upset. I was writing the bitch from the Airbnb. I was like, bro, you're mad irresponsible. I was like, what about if I didn't have anybody to pick up the key? I was like, I don't care if my brother has the key or not, but you couldn't even give him the internet. Knowing nobody in the R barely has internet and shit. And I'm like, you couldn't even give him the... She texted me the internet and didn't give my brother the internet when she literally seen my brother face to face. Are you slow or what? Whatever. I ended up cursing her. I had a whole big-ass argument with her or whatever because the next she tried to tell me, oh, that wasn't her problem, this and that. I said, you know what? Like, I'm never booking with you again. You know, I don't cancel this reservation. Call my bank, get my money back, and book something else. I was like, don't play with me. Like, I'm not the one to be playing with or whatever. So, basically, I just told her, I was like, I'm not about to start arguing with this lady. Next thing you know, she does something to her stuff in the Airbnb or whatever. So I didn't even start going back and forth. I said, look, we already here. It's done for. It's done. Like, we here. We in. Have a good night. Have a good day. Or whatever. I'm going to enjoy my vacation and call it a day or whatever. Yeah, but I was so mad. Like, I was stranded. Like, that would never happen again to me. Like, on my soul. Like, bro, like, just leave. Like, and my brother's like, yo, and my brother's older than me, but he's just like, his mind, I don't know where the fuck it be at sometimes. But it, like, clearly doesn't be in the moments. Like, but yeah, I just wanted to tell you a little story time about what happened to us. Don't let it happen to y'all. If y'all have family over there and y'all want to leave the key with somebody, don't leave the key with nobody. Get your key when you get there. If they can't get up at that time, they can't give the key at that time. Bye, baby. Next Airbnb. Simple.